Family gatherings have always been chaotic, but this one was different. It wasn't just about the noise, the endless conversations, or the kids running around. It was about her, my sister, Lisa. 7 months pregnant and acting like the queen of the world. The day started early, too early. At 5 in the morning, I was already in the kitchen, helping my mom and dad prepare for our grandparents' 40th wedding anniversary. We had guests coming, nearly 30 people, and the pressure to make everything perfect was unbearable. By noon, the house was spotless, the food was almost ready, and the dining room was set. My parents had made a decision to swap the fancy dining chairs for simpler ones, keeping only 2 of the best chairs for our elderly grandparents. The rest of us? We'd have to deal with regular cushioned chairs. It was a logical choice. At least, that's what I thought. Lisa, however, had other opinions. She arrived fashionably late, waddling into the house like she owned it. Her husband, Mark, trailed behind her, carrying a small gift bag and looking exhausted. Lisa barely said hello before scanning the dining room, her face immediately twisting into disapproval. "Where are the good chairs?" she asked, her voice sharp. "You didn't get rid of them, did you?" I sighed, already knowing where this was going. "They're upstairs. Mom didn't want the kids messing them up." Lisa's frown deepened. "So, where am I supposed to sit? I'm pregnant, in case you forgot." Oh, we hadn't forgotten. Lisa reminded us of her pregnancy every chance she got, as if the massive belly and constant demands weren't enough. "You'll sit on one of the regular chairs, like the rest of us," I said simply. "That's ridiculous," she scoffed. "I need support. My back is killing me." I looked at her chair. It was cushioned. It had a backrest. It was literally the same chair everyone else was using. "You'll be fine." Lisa huffed, but didn't argue, at least not yet. Lunch was served, and for a brief moment, I thought we might actually get through the meal without any drama. I was wrong. Halfway through, Lisa started shifting uncomfortably. She sighed loudly. Then she sighed again, louder this time, making sure everyone could hear her. "Ugh, this chair is awful," she muttered. "My back is killing me." No one responded. Then she turned to me. "Go get me one of the good chairs." I blinked. "Excuse me? You heard me. I need a better chair. Go upstairs and bring one down." I stared at her, barely containing my irritation. "Lisa, I've been on my feet since 5 in the morning. If you want a chair, ask Mark." Her husband, who was in the middle of a conversation with my uncle, glanced at us but quickly looked away, pretending he hadn't heard anything. Lisa scowled. "He's eating." "I'm asking you, and I'm saying no." Lisa let out an exaggerated gasp, like I had just committed some great crime. "Wow, really? You can't even do this one little thing for your pregnant sister?" I clenched my jaw. "Lisa, it's a chair. You are not dying. If it's such a big deal, go get it yourself." "You're unbelievable," she snapped, pushing her plate away. So selfish. At that moment, I knew she wasn't going to let this go. And I was right. After lunch, I was finally ready to sit down and enjoy my piece of cake. It was a small victory, a tiny moment of peace. But Lisa had other plans. As I reached for my plate, she grabbed it. "You'll get this back when you get my chair," she said smugly. I stared at her. "You're joking," she smirked. "Try me." 100 different responses ran through my mind, most of them involving smashing the cake into her face. But instead, I took a deep breath and said, "Lisa, I am done. If you want the chair so badly, go get it yourself or have Mark do it." Her face turned red. "He's eating." "And I'm exhausted," I shot back. "So, leave me alone." She blinked, clearly not expecting me to push back. Then, with an exaggerated sigh, she handed the plate back to me. "Fine, I'll get it myself," she huffed. "But if it gets dirty, Mom is going to be pissed." "Then that's your problem," I muttered. Lisa stomped away, and for the first time all day, I felt victorious. But I had no idea that the real truth, the reason behind her tantrum, was something much deeper than just a chair. Lisa's dramatic exit should have given me some peace, but it didn't. Even as I finally got to enjoy my cake, I felt the tension in the air. People were whispering, some exchanging glances as if waiting for the next explosion. My brother, Matt, who had been observing everything from across the table, leaned over and muttered, "You handled that better than I would have." I rolled my eyes. "She's exhausted," he chuckled. "That's an understatement." Just as I was about to relax, Lisa reappeared, dragging one of the fancy chairs behind her. She plopped down with a triumphant smirk, adjusting herself dramatically. Finally, some comfort. Mom walked in at that moment, took one look at Lisa, and frowned. Lisa, why is that chair down here? Lisa immediately put on her best innocent face. I needed it, Mom. My back is killing me. Mom's eyes darted to me, as if sensing the full story. Before she could say anything, Lisa added, and before you ask, yes, I had to get it myself because apparently no one cares that I'm pregnant. Oh, for God's sake, Matt muttered under his breath. Mom sighed, clearly exhausted. Lisa, we agreed those chairs were staying upstairs for a reason. If anything spills on them, then I'll clean it. Lisa interrupted. Can't I just have one nice thing without everyone making a big deal? Mom gave her a long look but didn't argue. Instead, she turned to me. Can you help bring out the rest of the desserts? Sure, I said, relieved to have an excuse to escape the drama. But just when I thought things were settling down, I overheard Lisa muttering to her husband, unbelievable. I swear, ever since she found out she's leaving, she's been acting like she's better than everyone. I stopped mid-step. What did she just say? Later that night, after the guests had left, I sat in the kitchen with my mom, sipping tea. She looked tired, rubbing her temples. Long day? I asked, knowing the answer. She gave me a small smile. It always is when Lisa's in a mood. I hesitated before asking, Mom, do you think she was really upset about the chair? Or was it something else? Mom sighed. I wasn't going to tell you, but I think you should know. Lisa has been struggling with you leaving. I blinked. What? Mom set her cup down. She's been calling me a lot lately. Complaining about how unfair it is that you get to move abroad while she's stuck here, raising a baby. She keeps saying that ever since you got accepted into that university, everyone has been focused on you instead of her. I felt my stomach twist. That's ridiculous. No one is ignoring her. She's pregnant. Everyone has been doing everything to support her. Mom gave me a knowing look. Lisa doesn't see it that way. She thinks she should be the center of attention right now. And honestly, I think she's scared. I frowned. Scared of what? Of being left behind. Mom sighed. You're moving to another country. Matt has his own family, and she's about to have a baby. I think she feels like everything is changing too fast, and she's losing control. That was the first time I had ever considered Lisa's behavior as something other than entitlement. Was she really acting out because she was scared? That night, I lay awake, staring at the ceiling. I thought back to all the times Lisa had snapped at me recently. The way she always seemed irritated when I talked about my future. The way she made everything about herself. Maybe Mom was right. Maybe she wasn't just being selfish. Maybe she was panicking. But did that excuse the way she treated me? Did it excuse her pettiness, her manipulation? I wasn't sure. The next day, Lisa texted me. Lisa, can we talk? I hesitated before replying. Me. About what? Lisa, just come over. Against my better judgment, I agreed. When I arrived at her house, she was sitting on the couch, rubbing her belly. She looked tired. More than that, she looked nervous. I just wanted to say, she started, not meeting my eyes. I know I was kind of a brat yesterday. I raised an eyebrow. Kind of? She huffed. Fine. A lot. I crossed my arms. Why? Why make such a big deal about a chair? Lisa sighed, leaning back. It wasn't about the chair. I stayed silent, waiting. It's just, she hesitated. You're leaving. And once you do, things won't ever be the same again. I swallowed hard. Lisa, things change. That's life. Yeah, well, I don't like it, she muttered. You've always been here. Even when we fought. Even when you annoyed me, you were here. Now you won't be. And I'm about to have a baby. Everything feels like it's moving too fast. For a moment, I didn't know what to say. This was the most honest Lisa had been in years. You could have just said that, I finally said. She scoffed. Yeah, because I'm so great at talking about feelings. I smirked. You do tend to act like a toddler instead. Lisa rolled her eyes but smiled a little. Guess I deserved that. I sat down next to her. Listen, just because I'm leaving doesn't mean I'm gone forever. We can call, we can visit, and you're about to have a whole new adventure of your own. She let out a breath. I know. I don't know how to not be the center of attention. I laughed. You'll figure it out. For the first time in a long time, I saw a glimpse of the Lisa I used to look up to, the one who wasn't just selfish and demanding, but also fiercely loyal in her own way. As I left her house, I realized something. We might never have a perfect relationship. We might always butt heads, but for the first time, I understood her. And maybe, just maybe, that was enough. In the days following my talk with Lisa, I felt strangely lighter. Our conversation hadn't fixed everything, but it had given me something I never thought I'd have with her understanding. For once, I saw her not just as my overbearing older sister, but as someone struggling with change, just like I was. But understanding didn't mean forgetting, and it definitely didn't mean excusing everything she had done. The truth was, Lisa had spent most of our lives treating me like an afterthought. Growing up, she always needed to be the star, the one in charge, the one who mattered most. And for the longest time, I let her have that. I let her push me around because it was easier than fighting back. Now, for the first time, I was making a choice for myself. I was leaving. And no amount of tantrums, guilt tripping, or dramatic chair-related breakdowns would change that. My parents decided to throw me a small going-away lunch before I left for school. Nothing too big, just family. Even though I wanted it to be simple, I knew it wouldn't be. Lisa showed up late. Again. This time she didn't say anything about the chairs, but I noticed the way she eyed them with disdain. Instead of sitting in one of the regular patio chairs like everyone else, she deliberately picked the most uncomfortable-looking stool she could find and plopped down with a sigh. Mom, who had been hovering around making sure everything was perfect, finally snapped. "Lisa, stop sulking." Lisa huffed. "I'm not sulking. I'm just uncomfortable." Mom narrowed her eyes. "Then sit in a different chair." Lisa scowled but said nothing. The tension at the table was thick enough to cut with a knife. My brother, Matt, shot me a look that said, "Here we go again." For the first half of the meal, Lisa was mostly quiet. But then, as if she couldn't help herself, she turned to me and said, "So, when exactly are you coming back?" I swallowed my bite of food and wiped my mouth before answering. "I don't know yet. Probably not for a while." Lisa frowned. "Not even for the holidays?" "Maybe," I said carefully. "Depends on my schedule." She let out a short laugh, shaking her head. "Of course. You're just gonna leave and forget about all of us." I set my fork down. "That's not fair. You know I'm not doing that." Lisa scoffed. "Could have fooled me." Mom, clearly fed up, interjected. "Lisa, enough. She's going to school, not abandoning us." "I never said she was abandoning us," Lisa muttered. "I just think it's funny how she's so eager to leave." I felt my stomach twist, a mix of guilt and frustration bubbling up inside me. But instead of arguing, I took a deep breath and said, "Lisa, I'm excited for my future." "That doesn't mean I don't care about you." Lisa stared at me for a long moment before finally looking away. "Whatever." After lunch, as I was helping Mom clean up, she sighed. "I wish she wouldn't make things so difficult." I nodded. "She's not used to things changing." Mom gave me a knowing look. "And are you?" I thought about that for a second. "I think I'm learning." She smiled and squeezed my hand. "Good. Because you deserve this." Later that evening, Lisa cornered me in the hallway. "Hey." I turned to her, bracing myself. "Hey." She hesitated, then crossed her arms. "I know I've been kind of a pain." I raised an eyebrow. "Kind of?" She let out a small laugh. "Okay, a huge pain." I smirked. "Go on." She rolled her eyes. I guess I'm scared. Of you leaving. Of things changing. I don't know. It's stupid." I shook my head. "It's not stupid. But Lisa, change is a part of life. We can't stay the same forever." She let out a breath. "I know." There was a long pause before she finally said, "I'll miss you." I felt a lump form in my throat. "I'll miss you too." It wasn't a perfect moment. It wasn't a grand reconciliation, but it was something. And for Lisa and me, that was enough. As I finished packing that night, I realized something. This was the first time I was truly choosing myself, and it felt good. The day of my departure arrived faster than I expected. The past few weeks had been an emotional whirlwind, but despite everything, I felt ready. I was about to step into a new chapter of my life, and for the first time, I wasn't afraid of leaving my family behind. That morning, I woke up early, the weight of the moment settling heavily in my chest. My suitcase was packed, my plane ticket printed, and my passport tucked safely into my bag. This was it. I walked downstairs to find Mom already in the kitchen, making breakfast. She turned when she saw me and gave me a soft smile. "You're up early." I nodded. Couldn't really sleep. She gestured for me to sit, placing a plate of eggs and toast in front of me. "Eat something before you go." I took a bite, but my stomach was too knotted to really enjoy it. "Where's Dad?" "Out picking up some last-minute things," she said. "Your brother and Lisa should be here soon." I tensed slightly at Lisa's name. Since our conversation at the going-away lunch, things between us had been better. Not perfect, but at least civil. Still, I wasn't sure what to expect from her today. 15 minutes later, the doorbell rang. Mom wiped her hands on a dish towel and went to answer it. A moment later, Lisa and her husband, Mark, walked into the kitchen. Lisa looked at me, then at my suitcase by the door. "So, this is it, huh?" I nodded. "Yeah." She sighed, pulling out a chair and sitting down across from me. "It's weird. You actually leaving." I forced a smile. "I know. I still think it's selfish," she muttered, picking at a loose thread on her sleeve. I frowned. "Lisa, I'm not saying you shouldn't go," she interrupted. "I'm just saying, it sucks." For a moment, neither of us spoke. Then, in a rare moment of honesty, she looked up at me and said, "I know I made this whole thing harder than it needed to be. I know I was being dramatic, but I guess I just didn't know how else to handle it." I let out a breath. "You could have just told me how you felt," she scoffed. "Yeah, because I'm great at that." I chuckled. "Fair point." Lisa glanced at my suitcase again, her expression unreadable. "So, are you gonna, call? Or are you just disappearing off the face of the earth?" I rolled my eyes. "Of course I'll call. You act like I'm never coming back." She shrugged. "Feels like it." I reached across the table and gave her hand a small squeeze. "I'm not abandoning you, Lisa. You're my sister. That's not gonna change." For the first time in a long time, she actually smiled. "Good, because I plan on sending you a million baby pictures, whether you like it or not." I groaned. "Oh, God." Lisa laughed, and for a moment, it felt like we were kids again. Like all the fights, all the tension, all the unnecessary drama didn't matter anymore. The ride to the airport was quiet. Mom and Dad made small talk, but I could tell they were trying to keep their emotions in check. Lisa stared out the window, her arms crossed over her belly. Mark and Matt had decided to stay behind, giving us this moment as a family. When we finally arrived, I stepped out of the car, my heart pounding. This was it. My new life was about to begin. Mom pulled me into a tight hug first. "Be safe, okay? And call me the second you land." I nodded against her shoulder. "I will." Dad was next. He didn't say much, just patted my back and muttered, "Proud of you, kid." Then it was Lisa's turn. She hesitated for a second, before stepping forward and hugging me tightly. "I'm still mad at you for leaving." I laughed. "I know." She pulled back, wiping her eyes quickly. "Just, don't forget where you came from, okay?" I smiled. "Never." With that, I grabbed my suitcase, took a deep breath, and walked into the airport. As I passed through security, I turned back one last time. My family stood by the car, watching me. Lisa gave me a small wave. I waved back. And then I was gone. The moment I stepped off the plane, everything felt different. The air smelled different. The people spoke with accents that weren't familiar. And for the first time in my life, I was completely on my own. No Lisa, no Mom hovering over me, no familiar places to fall back on. I was free, and that was both exhilarating and terrifying. I spent my first few weeks adjusting to my new life. Classes were challenging but exciting, and I found myself slowly falling into a rhythm. I made friends, real friends. Not just people I had known my whole life because we happened to grow up in the same town. Here, no one saw me as Lisa's little sister. I was just me. But even with all the excitement, there was an undeniable loneliness. The time difference made it hard to call home regularly, and when I did, conversations were often rushed. Mom always asked if I was eating enough. Dad gave his usual short but warm words of encouragement. And Lisa, well, Lisa was Lisa. One night, just as I was finishing an assignment, my phone rang. It was late, and I almost ignored it. But when I saw Lisa's name, I hesitated. Lisa never called, not unless she had something to complain about. Bracing myself, I answered, "Hello?" There was silence for a moment, then a sniffle. "Hey." My stomach dropped. "Lisa? What's wrong?" Another sniff. "Nothing. I needed to talk to someone." I put my laptop aside, suddenly giving her my full attention. Is everything okay? I don't know. Her voice was small, so unlike the usual confident, demanding Lisa I knew. The baby's coming soon. I thought I'd be ready, but I'm not. I'm freaking out, and Mark doesn't get it. He keeps saying everything will be fine, but what if it's not? What if I'm a terrible mom? I blinked, caught completely off guard. Lisa, you've been preparing for this for months. You're going to be fine. How do you know? She whispered. I've never been responsible for someone else before. What if I screw this up? What if? She stopped herself, inhaling sharply. God, I sound pathetic. I softened. You don't. You sound human. There was another pause before she sighed. I miss you. That hit me harder than I expected. I miss you too. This sucks, she muttered. You're supposed to be here. I swallowed the lump in my throat. I know. We sat in silence for a while before. Lisa finally let out a shaky laugh. God, listen to me. I called to talk, and now I'm just dumping all my emotions on you. That's what sisters are for, I said gently. She exhaled. Yeah, I guess so. From that night on, Lisa called me more often. At first, it was about the baby doctor's appointments, nursery decorations, weird cravings. But then, slowly, our conversations shifted. She started asking about my classes, my friends, and my life, and I found myself doing the same. For the first time, our relationship wasn't built on rivalry or resentment. It was something else, something better. When Mom found out about our late night talks, she was surprised. I don't know what you did, but she's been less of a nightmare lately. I laughed. Guess she finally realized I'm not her enemy. Mom hesitated before saying, She really does look up to you, you know. She'd never admit it, but she always has. That was hard to believe. But as weeks turned into months, I started to think maybe Mom was right. I was in the middle of studying when Lisa called me again. It was late, way later than usual. I answered immediately. Lisa? She was breathing heavily. I think it's happening. I shot up in bed. Wait, what? The baby. I think my water just broke. Panic surged through me. Where's Mark? He's getting the car. Oh God, I'm not ready for this. You are, I assured her. You've got this, Lisa. She let out a shaky breath. I wish you were here. I squeezed my eyes shut. Me too. I have to go, she said. Just stay near your phone, okay? Of course. And then she hung up. I sat there, phone clutched in my hands, feeling utterly helpless. Thousands of miles away, my sister was about to become a mother, and there was nothing I could do. I barely slept that night, constantly checking my phone. Hours passed, and then finally, a picture popped up on my screen. A tiny, wrinkled baby wrapped in a blanket. Mark had sent the message. She's here. Both are doing great. Tears welled in my eyes. Lisa was a mom. My impossible, stubborn, dramatic sister was officially a mother. I stared at the picture for a long time before typing out a message. Tell her I love her, and that I'm proud of her. Minutes later, my phone rang again. This time, it was Lisa herself. Her voice was weak, exhausted, but happy. Hey, Auntie. I laughed through my tears. Hey, Mom. She's perfect, Lisa whispered. I wish you could see her. I will, I promised. Soon. Lisa yawned. I should probably sleep. But I wanted to hear your voice first. I smiled. I'm always here. Good. She paused. I love you. The words stunned me. Lisa had never said that to me before. Swallowing my emotions, I whispered, I love you too. As I hung up, I realized something. I had spent my whole life trying to escape Lisa's shadow, trying to prove that I wasn't just the little sister. But now, for the first time, I didn't feel like I had to prove anything. Lisa and I were no longer competing. We were simply sisters, and that was more than enough. Lisa's baby was a turning point for both of us. For the first time in our lives, our relationship felt real. Not a power struggle, not a constant back and forth of arguments and grudges. Just two sisters who finally understood each other. But even with this newfound connection, there was still a lingering ache inside me. I missed home. I missed the familiarity, the comfort of knowing exactly where I fit. And yet, I also knew that going back wasn't an option, at least. Not yet. I was building something here, something just for me. And for the first time in my life, I wasn't defined by my family. I was just me. In the months that followed, I settled into my life abroad. Classes kept me busy. Friendships grew deeper, and I started feeling like I belonged. But there were moments, small, unexpected moments, when the homesickness hit hard. A familiar smell in the cafeteria would remind me of Mom's cooking. A passing conversation in my native language would make my heart ache. And every time Lisa sent me a picture of her daughter, I'd feel a twinge of guilt. Lisa was doing great. She was exhausted, of course, but she was handling motherhood in a way I never expected. She wasn't the selfish, demanding person I had always seen her as. She was patient, caring, strong, and she wanted me to be a part of her daughter's life. She recognizes your voice now, Lisa said one night over a video call, rocking her baby in her arms. Whenever I put you on speaker, she looks around, trying to find you. My heart clenched. That's adorable, Lisa smiled. So, when are you coming home? I hesitated. I don't know. You do know, she pressed. You're just avoiding saying it. She wasn't wrong. I did know when I was coming back. I had already bought a ticket for the summer break, but a part of me was scared to say it out loud, afraid that once I did, it would make leaving again even harder. I'll be home in June, I finally admitted. Lisa's face lit up. Seriously? Yeah. Oh my God! You're going to meet her! Lisa practically squealed. She's going to love you! I laughed. I hope so. But deep down, I wondered, would home still feel like home? Or had I changed too much to fit back in? The moment my plane landed, a flood of emotions washed over me. The air smelled different, warmer, heavier, filled with memories. As I stepped through the airport doors, I spotted my family immediately. Mom and Dad were waving excitedly, and Lisa stood beside them, holding a tiny bundle in her arms. The second I reached them, Lisa shoved the baby into my arms. Meet your niece. I stared down at the little girl, her big eyes blinking up at me. She was so small, so perfect. My throat tightened as I whispered, Hi there. The baby let out a tiny yawn, her fingers curling around mine. And just like that, I was in love. Lisa nudged me playfully. Told you she'd love you. I smiled. She has no choice. We're family. For the first time in a long time, that word family felt whole, not broken, not complicated, just whole. Over the next few weeks, I soaked in every moment. Late-night baby feedings with Lisa, long conversations with Mom over coffee, backyard barbecues with Dad and Matt. It was everything I had missed, everything I had longed for. But something was different. It wasn't home that had changed. It was me. I wasn't the same girl who had left months ago. I had grown. I had built a life for myself outside of this place. And while I loved being back, I knew I couldn't stay. Lisa sensed it before I even said anything. You're leaving again soon, aren't you? She asked one night as we sat on the porch, watching the stars. I nodded. Yeah. She was quiet for a moment before sighing. I get it. I turned to her. You do? Yeah, she said softly. I don't like it, but I get it. I swallowed the lump in my throat. I'll always come back, Lisa. She smirked. You better. The day of my departure, Lisa hugged me so tightly I could barely breathe. Don't wait so long to visit next time, okay? I won't, I promised. As I walked away, I turned back one last time. Lisa was standing there, baby on her hip, watching me with a soft smile. And for the first time, I knew no matter where I went, no matter how far I traveled, I would always have a place to come back to. Because home wasn't just a place, it was family. And that would never change.